So you're kind of motivated to help a little bit because, I mean, before I haven't got anyone in the house that's had it yet, but you did, right?
Yeah. I mean, my wife and my son definitely had it.
How
I
was
mean, I'm
that?
a dude. It was intense, like that. They both got extremely sick. My son probably
Jesus,
got
dude.
the worst of the two of them, which
Yeah.
kind of debunks the whole theory that this only hits old people. And my wife got it pretty bad as well. She has pre-existing, she has asthma,
Oh,
and
shit.
it totally attacked her lungs and her chest, and she was having a hard time breathing, and
Did you stay
it was
home or did
crazy.
you go
Like
to hospital? Like, how bad was it?
well, we've been on full quarantine since I got back from Daytona Bike Week, which was on the 11th of March, and
Okay.
leading up to that, my wife, well, basically my family, they hadn't even left our house just because. I mean, you've been where I live, and there's not much reason to leave our house. We're just kind of
Right.
homebodies, so they've been pretty locked down since probably about the third or fourth of last month. And so, yeah, long story short, I got home the 11th. They started getting sick a few days later, probably like 3 to 4 days later,
Mm.
and we did stay up at our farm for the most part of it until
Did
my
you and your
son kind of
daughter
started
split up?
No. I mean, that was the thing is like I got back from Daytona, and keep in mind on the timeline, I left. I guess let's call like around the 5th or 6th of last month, and it was in the news, but it wasn't quite. Obviously, it wasn't intense as it is now, and so it
Okay.
just kind of started to bubble up about the time that I left, and then when I got home, my wife was really nervous about the whole situation, and then 3 days later, as it affects me, 3 days later they canceled the rest of the Daytona Motorcycle Rally. So this thing ramped up really quickly over the course of 5 to 7 days. So when I got home on the 11th, we went full blown lockdown, nobody in, nobody out, because at that time we were assuming that hey, we live in a small town and my wife and kids haven't gone anywhere. I came home, I wasn't showing any symptoms. So we were kind of going this route that most people are, and that is, I don't want to get this, and we are going to go full lockdown. And we did
Right.
that. And then as the symptoms started to kick up, we stayed home for, the days were kind of muddy in my mind, but we probably stayed home for about another 10 days. And then my son kind of took a turn for the worse. I mean, he'd had extremely high body temperature. I mean, he was up around 102, 103 for God,
Jesus,
like
dude.
a solid 2 going on 3 weeks straight. I mean, the kid was in the
What?
bath 4 or 5 times a day trying to break his temperature. And then Alicia was progressively getting worse. So finally, we kind of made the decision to head down to our little place in LA so we could be closer to our pediatrician and my wife's doctor. So we ended up down in LA for about 5 days. And then once their symptoms started to sort of break and kind of get behind us, we came back home.
And you didn't get it at all.
I have zero symptoms. My daughter had zero symptoms. Unfortunately, we only had access to a test for my wife. And but not that I don't really feel that we needed more, because you figure, the four of us on top of each other for, a couple of weeks at this point. If one of us has it, all of us has it. I mean, you have to kind of assume that. So,
Yep.
so we just kind of took the lead on my wife's test.